talk about Alferd Packer, also known as Alfred Packer, also known as Al Packer. Better known, or most accurately known, is that dirty, lying, thieving, murdering cannibal. I'm Tom Reyburn in the current world, but I've been around a long time, and I'm an expert on Alferd Packer. So what I want to tell you about today is it's going to be a balanced, historical, factual presentation. Well, this Alferd Packer guy was born back east somewhere, Pennsylvania, back in 1842. He got old enough, quick enough, he could be in the Union Army during the War of Northern Aggression. And he was good enough that he was there twice. They threw him out on 2 different occasions. Well, in 1873, he and 26 other greedy fellows got together in Provo, Utah to come this way to find silver, gold, riches, become millionaires. They're just laying on the ground to pick it. And he, of course, didn't have any money. So, and he's tired of stealing that month, I guess. So he joined up with his group on the premise that he'd be their guide when they got here. Well, that made sense. Except he'd never been here. He had no idea what he was. All right, so they left Provo, and they went all the way over towards what's now Montrose. And about that time, winter was setting in. It's January by the time they got here. And they'd run pretty much out of money. And so they just bunked up with Chief Ewing. He said, just spend the winter with us and get to April or May when the snow melts, you can go on where you're going. Well, the other guys said fine, but Packer and 5 soon-to-be unfortunate people decided greed was more important than smarts, and so they took off. Now they were going from what's approximately Montrose today to Saguache, which was then a fairly decent-sized area, and we had a fort over there, an Indian agency and stuff. We're in February now. They left Uray's ranch or camp February 9th. So you know, if you've ever been up here in February, what it looks like. You got snow 6 feet deep. You got 25 below zero. You got some wind. Very unpleasant. These guys, off they go. They got a knife. They've got a rifle. And they got hatchets. That's it. Those soon-to-be deceased victims were Shannon Bell, James Humphrey, Frank Miller, George Noon, and Israel Swan. Mr. Swan's the only one that really had any money at all, and he was pretty well hooked. So they come down here. They get down to what became the killing site. The snow's bad. The weather's cold. They started eating boots, which is very common in those days, and they get because it's made out of leather. And they boil them and get a little juice out of that, and they drink it. Okay. Then something happened. We don't know exactly what. We have 3 different stories from Mr. Packer, and then we have the truth. Okay? His stories are, number 1, that they're walking along and he got frostbite, and those other 5 scoundrels put him down, left him there to die, and walked off without him, and he never saw him again. Well, he winds up the next spring, you understand, walking into Saguache. Fat, feeling good, get nice clothes on, little money in his pocket. He never had a dime in his life. Little money in his pocket. He starts buying booze for the boys, you know, talking, shooting his mouth off. And they said, well, Alferd, what happened to those 5 guys you were with? Oh, I got frostbitten, they abandoned me. Well, he got to looking at his feet. Those feet never been frostbitten. Well, that's actually, you know, I don't know, I'm confused. You all been giving me too much liquor, and so he'd wander off. Well, along comes springtime, and a French photographer from Harper's Magazine walks along. He's shooting pictures, and he comes upon a scene down here with 5 skeletons. He takes a picture, and that's what's in the museum in there, a blow-up of that. The question is, what 5 are these? Well, of course, the Saguache sheriff says, I think I know who they are. Came over, got information, came back, arrested Alferd Packer. Confession number 2. He says, well, here's what happened. Here's what happened. We were having all these problems, and we're all starving to death. So I volunteered to walk up to the top of that plateau, appropriately named today as Cannibal Plateau. Okay, and I walked up there, and I came back down that evening after dark, and wow, here they are. Bell's sitting there eating meat, and there's 4 bodies. Okay, that was his official story. And then in that story, he comes back to the camp, and here's somebody looking kind of like that, eating on a bone, eating some meat. And he says, what are you doing? Looks around, and here's 4 bodies. And Bell jumps up, runs at him with his rifle. And then Packer grabs his rifle away from him, and he shoots him And then with the axe that all of a sudden in the story he has in his hand, he hits him and knocks his head plumb off. It goes flying off. All right, last one. And these are both of the second and third are in the court record. He gave both of them in his recorded trial here in Lake City. Last one, he killed Bell in self-defense, and the others just kind of died naturally. Okay, they all, and you could see how they could die of freezing because they all had a triangular hole in their forehead where their axes hit, and so it froze their brain. Now that'd kill you, wouldn't it? All right, everybody raise your hand. You believe that? No, we're not doing any good at all here. All right, those were Packer's 3 official confessions and explanations. Now the truth. He just went through while they were sleeping with his axe, walked along behind them. Whap! 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 And then Bell gets up. What are you doing, Alferd? And he shoots him. Or he hits him with the axe. Or he hits him with the axe and then he shoots him. We don't know what sequence. But Bell's head kind of went way off. If you'll notice the photo in there, one of the skeletons has no head. That's Mr. Bell. They say, okay, Alferd, jig's up. You killed him. You're under arrest. So they put him in a little jail cell kind of. And according to Packer, people kept coming by and saying, Alferd, you ought to escape. This is a rigged deal. Poor boy, poor baby. And somebody, whom he never named, brought him some whiskey and a key or file to get out of that little place. So he did. He escaped. Now, he'd already been charged with murder, but he escaped. Okay? Well, he hadn't been charged, I beg your pardon. He'd been arrested for murder, but not charged and arraigned. So he escapes to Wyoming. And he's up in Wyoming, what, Grant, 9 years? 11 years?
9, I think.
9, I believe. 9 years. And so 1883 in March, they capture him in Wyoming. He's up there under an assumed name, of course. Lying murderers always are. And they arrest him and bring him back to Lake City. They charge him with first-degree murder, 1 count. They try him, and as it should be, they find him guilty. Sentenced to hang. The hanging sentence is in the courthouse over there. If you go upstairs in the courtroom, then you look there, and there's a covered plexiglass covered deal with a big book under it. That's the official court record, and it's open to the judge's pronouncement of sentence. Beautifully written, wonderful prose. It really is. The man on the street bar kind of story of his ruling is said there are only 6 Democrats in this county, and you killed 5 of them. I'm going to sentence you to die, to hang till you're dead, as a warning to anybody else. That's ridiculous. So everything's going just on schedule as it should have been. And then some nut in Denver figures out that a lot of people got arrested when Colorado was a territory. Then Colorado became a state in
76.
Wasn't pointing at you. 1876. That's why we're called the Centennial State. And his murders, or purported murders, as we say, were just prior to that. And then he was captured in 82. So they bring him back to try him. They convict him, and somebody says, "Whoop, wrong." It happened to several hundred people all over the state. So they all had to be retried. All of them guilty, or we wouldn't have arrested them, is the way I look at it. But anyway, they retried Alferd. This time, for some reason, they tried him up in Gunnison. We don't know why. And in Gunnison, they decided not to keep a record. We don't know why. So the record of his trial is the one that was conducted here in our courthouse. But that's another interesting thing. He was convicted of 1 murder here. Just 1, not all 5. They go to Gunnison, they try him for 5 manslaughters. Okay, they convict him of 5 manslaughters in Gunnison, sentence him to 8 years each, 40 years total. Okay. They were as good then as they are now. They sentenced him to 40 years in prison in 86. So they paroled him in 01. He got sort of 15 years out of the 40. 1901. So he went to Denver, got a job as the head doorman at the Brown Palace Hotel. Can you picture this? Can you picture it? Welcome to the Brown Palace, ma'am. Ooh, nice yams. Yeah. Thank heavens he died in 1907 before he could murder anybody else. Was buried in Littleton, and his tombstone has the inscription, died April 23, 1907. He died of senility, trouble, and worry. Doesn't that make you feel sad for that boy?